Hello, Aquarius. So good to see everybody today. I hope that you're doing fantastically well. Lots and lots of messages came through for you this morning, so we're going to have a lot to go through in the channel portion. Quick hello, in case you're brand new. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. This little guy is Apollo. I'll be looking today at Aquarius, sun, rising, moon. You can also watch it for Venus. Really, any aspect of your chart, it's fine to join me for this. We'll be looking at a 6 to 8 week forecast. So although this is for May, a lot of the stuff that's coming through, especially at the beginning, will be absolutely valid if you're looking at this on the live, which is broadcasting here on the 22nd. So anytime between now and the end of next month, all of this will hold true. And it really just depends kind of where you are energetically. So feel free to come back and visit this. I do timestamp it usually about 12 to 18 hours after this is done. So you'll be able to go back and look at certain portions if you'd like. Let's talk a little bit about the format, and then we'll get into the forecast. So I like to begin with channeled messages. I have a lot in front of us today to kind of go through. So the channeled messages come through in dreams, in meditations, in free writing right before I begin. And yes, I know, buddy, we're going to talk all about that. So that's the first portion. Then we're going to look at the Celtic Cross, and the Celtic Cross for me is not solely focused on love. I like to keep it as a broader sort of indicator of what to focus on. So we'll take a look at all aspects of your life, and then I make sure in the expanded forecast afterwards to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. So everything can be covered there. I do a mini review at the midpoint, so if you ever join late, don't worry. I always kind of do a mini review just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Then we dig a little bit deeper and take a look at what I call the soul path, which is really a chance to look at blessings and blocks. Back when I used to do, like for maybe half a year, I did weeklies, and blessings and blocks were a part of that. So the soul path allows us to accentuate the positive and neutralize some of the challenges. And I'll just dig deeper into some of the cards that pop up that deserve attention. Then we'll do a quick meditation to integrate some of those lessons. And afterwards, I have what I call the final card, final word, whatever. And it's just a chance for you to psychically ask me a question. I'll pull a card, look at it as a yes, no, and then also give you some other layers of meaning. So that's how everything is organized today. I think you get a lot actually in about an hour and a half. Stay as long as you can. And like I said, you can always come back and revisit as the month goes on. And you can review certain parts if you would like to. A couple of quick notes before we get into the reading. If you like what you see today, remember to hit the subscribe button. One thing that I looked at with my analytics is that over 50% of the people that watch haven't subscribed. So the way I would equate liking and subscribing is sort of like if you're at a concert and you hold up your phone, or back in the day, a lighter. It just lets me know that you're out there. And it also lets YouTube know that this is something that people like. So hit the thumbs up. You can only do it once per video. If you've already subscribed, don't worry about it. If you've never subscribed, think about doing it. Maybe some of you are subscribed, but you haven't opted into notifications. This will give you a quick little pop-up on your device, or even an email if you'd like, when new videos are posted. And I had an interrupted stream about a week ago, and it's really helpful for things like that. So consider doing it if you haven't. It helps me, and it lets me know that you like what you see. Another way that you can give back while I'm doing a live stream is through Super Chat and Super Stickers. There's this little $ next to the emojis. And from that, you can send a sticker, send some support. I don't answer questions. I know some readers do, but as you can see, I go through a lot of stickies here, or a lot of 3x5 cards and a lot of Sharpies. And I'm using a relatively new deck today. So your support goes back into just letting me be here. So if you'd like to show support, you can do it as little as $1. It helps a lot. You can also, on replay, use the applaud button, since the super sticker thing isn't available there. So the applaud button is between like and share. And I often get questions about the membership versus Patreon. It's really just a choice on how much you want to give. Membership is fixed, but you get more perks. Patreon, you can pick any amount. And you still get the same Q&A access that I give for members. All right, let's get into the reading today. Let me take a look here at your spirit totem. I always like to begin with something in nature. It's just a different way to divine. And usually this will come through either in dreams, or this morning it just popped into my head and I thought, let's do some research on it. So the spirit totem today is the kiwi, not the fruit, but the bird. And I was actually surprised at how large kiwis are. So I'm showing you this bird for size. It kind of looks more like a chicken, I guess, in size. I always thought they were really tiny, but they're not. They're actually a little bit larger. Rather cute birds, I must say. They have nostrils in their beak. They forage for food. They're nocturnal animals, New Zealand, I believe, correct? And they live in little burrows during the daytime, where the partner and the two birds would basically watch over the egg and everything, and kind of they're hiding from predators as well by kind of being in there. So really cool bird. I didn't know a lot about it. I'm still learning a little bit. I only had so much time to research today, but I think the biggest thing that surprised me was how big the bird was. I mean, it's not just a little tiny bird, because sometimes when you're looking at an illustration, it just seems like it's this little, tiny thing, but it's not. It's rather large. So let's talk a little bit more about the kiwi and about how this as a symbol is speaking to Aquarius this month, okay? So again, we're looking at the bird, not the fruit. It's, to me, a divine symbol of the divine feminine, rather, creation. Specifically, as I did some research on the egg, because there was something unique about the eggs. They're bigger than like an average egg would be for a bird of that size. And also they have twice as much yolk for the developing embryo inside. And not only that, but normal birds have this little, I guess it's, what did I call it? An egg tooth. There's a way that they can kind of get through, but kiwi birds don't have that. So they spend longer in this bigger egg with more sort of nutrients in it, which means ultimately they come out as an almost like mini version of their parents. They're mature, they have eyes that are open. A lot of birds, the eyes are shut, they can't hear, they can't walk a little bit, they're very helpless. But the kiwi bird is much more mature, and it can actually go out there foraging for food with its parents, which I thought was kind of cool. And that's something that not a lot of other birds have. This is very Aquarius, actually, because the independent streak is coming through in this bird. You are a very independent sign. You can sometimes be very self-sufficient, even stubborn when you know what you want to do. It's like, this is how I'm going to do it. And so I liked that, and I thought it was a really nice fit for you. Let's talk about some of the things that this could mean for you over the course of the next month. That incubation period, so we have the divine feminine egg that's coming through. That's the main thing that I was kind of focusing on with this bird. Taking longer, but being better for the time spent. So don't worry if it takes a little bit longer to get something done. Just do it right. Do it right the first time. It's better if you take 2 or 3 extra months and you're finished, rather than having to go back, change it, edit it, explain why things weren't the way they needed to be. Push for the necessary time if you can. So in places of work and school, this is about being realistic with what you can do in a certain sort of time period. So you may have to kind of like limit scope a little bit or ask for additional time. And one of those things are going to happen, or you'll have to get more of a budget so you can get more people to help out with it. In other aspects of your life, it's saying don't rush growth, because if you do, you're premature and you're going to have some growing pains stepping into something that you weren't ready for. So do the prep work, do the homework, and don't beat yourself up. Even if other people are further ahead, we all develop at different times, right? Both literally and also when it comes to emotional, and I would say intellectual, and I would also say spiritual growth. All those different aspects of yourself take differing amounts of time. So whatever it takes for you, it's right, as long as you're doing it the right way, just don't take shortcuts, basically. As long as you nurture yourself and your dreams, things will be okay. Be patient. Nurturing is key. Just like the egg has to be sort of heated and incubated, whatever you're working on, it's the same sort of thing. A plant needs water, you need food, but also dreams need attention, and relationships also need affection and attention too. So there you go. Patience is key. I see things coming through to fruition, but possibly taking longer than you thought, or just not kind of in the way, shape, or form that you expected, since I was even surprised by the size of this bird. These birds are foragers. Since they don't have wings, they have this evolved sense of smell, and they dig in the ground. They eat worms and bugs and things like that. But they're a nocturnal animal, and they can find things where other people can't, basically because of that evolved sense of smell. So you're going to be able to make the most out of anything this month, and you may be able to smell out or sense out an opportunity that someone else can't, because you're just a little bit more tuned in. You're looking. Have you ever noticed? I've talked about this with vocabulary skills. For those of you that might have kids, or maybe you're in school, or maybe you're just doing some reading and you looked up a term in a book, all of a sudden you notice that word appears everywhere. It's sort of like you've been awakened to a certain kind of frequency that you didn't see before. It was always there. It was always maybe in everyday speech, but now you're paying attention, you're looking for it. So when you just start to look for things, or you're aware of things a little bit more, you see something that others can't. It was always there. So it's another way, it's a psychic bird, but it's using its sense of smell. So we could just sort of trust that as like clairsentience, just kind of that feeling. If it's right or wrong, you're going to have that too. And you might just be able to dig a little bit. This is also very Aquarius, being able to stubbornly kind of go through something and find it. Because if you set your mind on something, you can really do it. And I believe in you, and I believe you can do that this month. So keep digging. You'll find what you need. You'll see what others cannot. You may find also, since this bird is a little bit more nocturnal and it came through as your totem this month, that you have this sense of heightened energy, either early in the morning or late at night. It could be inconvenient because you're trying to sleep and your sleep patterns are kind of being interrupted a little bit. So be aware of that. And one of the things that you can do this month is to eliminate, limit, or just find alternatives to things like caffeine or alcohol, because both of those are going to make it harder to fall asleep and stay asleep. I would say sugar falls in that category as well, as does nicotine. Really detoxing, and for some of you, it could even be choosing sobriety and things like that, deciding to clear out, clean out the system, and then use the energy that you're getting to maybe do something else. If you have a few extra hours of energy and it's natural, then use it. Use it for cleaning, use it for planning, use it for reading, use it for education, whatever, because maybe your body is adjusting and doesn't need as much. And that's something that I noticed. I've been pretty much caffeine free this year. I think right around the New Year's, I just decided enough is enough. I used to drink a lot of tea, and for other health reasons, I just decided caffeine wasn't really good for my body, at least at present. So I cut it out and I feel better. And one thing that I noticed is I'm not going from high to low or whatever. You just have energy. And if you need a nap, you take a nap, and then you're feeling better after that. So see how your body feels when you cut things out of your diet, the toxic things, I would say sugar, caffeine, nicotine, and alcohol. And you're going to notice some positive things by doing that. For partnerships, Kiwis are great because based on what I was seeing, they're pretty loyal. So if you're meeting a new friend, if you're in an existing relationship, or possibly starting something new, there seems to be potential there. So explore it. It feels like you could have that talk about exclusivity. You could look at things like that. And it just looks like there's opportunities for growth and stability. Very Four of Wands type energy, if you will. So that's nice. There are also, this is the most important thing and the last thing that I added with the totem, and then we're going to go into dream messages. But there are more than one ways to move something forward. Like, so obviously Kiwis don't have wings, right? So they're still moving. And I think sometimes we're asked to stand still and like fix and grow and move in the current situation. So see what you can learn from this present situation, be it work, school, love, etc., and really just graduate from that experience so that you don't have to repeat it. And so you can spread your figurative, wings later, even though like a Kiwi doesn't have it, but you do. You have this ability to sort of fly and soar later. But today, the energy that came through was a grounded one. So it's saying there's something here in this moment where you need to dig deeper, because that's what a Kiwi does. It forages, it goes deeper to find what it needs. So before you move forward, before you move on, before you move up, make sure that you've paid attention to everything here in this moment, and you're going to be grateful that you did that. Let's move along to dream messages that I got for you last night. One was really interesting here, and the way that it came through was you were in this sort of circle. It was maybe like a round table at work or something like that, or it could be family. But everyone was going around the room and saying who they were and what they wanted. So kind of like a secret skill and a desire or an intention. And you were last. You were waiting. You were like, hey, you go first. So I think it's really important for you to be ready to be put on the spot and think ahead. What do you want in life, at work, in a relationship, spiritually? What can you offer? The latter part is really important, especially for work and relationships. What can you offer? How do you want to show up? What do you want to learn? Because your boss, like let's say there was a new boss coming in for those of you that are working, Maybe they're getting to know you and they're like, all right, you're doing well. What else do you want to do? Are you feeling like you're supported? I want you to have a list of things that you feel like you're tracking well on and that you're not. In a relationship, your partner may just simply ask you, are you happy? It's a loaded question, but you can kind of go through it and say, I'm really happy about this and this. I'd love to see more with both of us growing here in this area. Just be ready for the tough questions so you're not trying to find your words. So it's a good meditation homework assignment, is to just sort of sit down and think, who am I? What do I want? What can I do? And really, what am I trying to do? I had a coaching session with someone the other day where the person was worried so much about what others were thinking that I couldn't kind of help them get back to the point. Like, well, what do you want to do? And all they were focusing on is what other people would think about them. So don't do that. Focus on what makes you happy, what you're trying to do, what your sort of indelible mark is going to be on the universe before you leave and come back again. So just figure out what this lifetime is about. I think that's so important, because if you don't have that North Star, or if you don't have the compass, sort of like where are you going? You're just ambling around. So I'm trying to get you positioned so that you can open up and synchronicities will come in. But it was clear someone's going to ask you for either what you want or what you think they need to bring to you. It's some sort of being put on the spot. So just be ready for that. What I liked about it is it's a chance to shape your future rather than waiting for someone else to tell you what you should be doing. So what do you want, instead of I want you to do this? And so it's empowerment basically, but it's scary because when we go into having to call the shots, then there's also more accountability with it, right? All right, so the next piece that I was picking up on was, I was talking a little bit about the Six of Wands right there when I was saying, getting to who you are and what you want isn't about what friends, family, community, and people around you expect you to be doing. So whatever you're doing in your life, whatever stage you are, whether you're young, mid-career, or retired, do what you're doing now for yourself, not for approval. Six of Wands is great, and it's part of the energy that I'm picking up. So I see success for you, but the success should also have a sense of fulfillment, because if you're not fulfilled, then the success is empty. The money is empty. The opportunity is empty. So it's because it feels right. And I think that's one of the key messages that's coming through for you. To that end, the next vision that came through for me early this morning was I saw you kind of going between 2 points. One was you were on stage. Another one was you were like at the first row looking at what was going on. So it's possible for us to sometimes be between, like in and out of body. So you might be having this sort of surreal moment in your life where when something comes to fruition, you feel like, is this really happening? That's why the Kiwi came through. Ground yourself and say, yes, it's happening. And yes, I earned it. The other piece though with this is I saw you on stage looking for like a parent or a teacher or someone that had sort of like the nod of approval or the seal of approval. You couldn't see them, but I could see them. If you're on stage, sometimes you can only see where the light is around the front and everything else is dimmed in the background. So what I saw is that just because you don't see someone there doesn't mean that they're not watching you. And more importantly, why are you focused so much on their approval? It's all of those. So the message that came through was don't play to the first row, play to the whole theater. So if you're doing something, do it for everyone, not just for the one person. Do it for yourself and do it for the collective, but not just to get one person to nod. And also, just because you can't see them doesn't mean they don't notice. And just because they can't say, I love you, I see you, I appreciate you, good job, doesn't mean you're not doing a great job or that you're worthy of love or that you should be receiving the applause. Sometimes people just can't do it because they're jealous, because they're not sure how to react, because they just have shortcomings. So don't let their lack create a lack in your life, basically. Ultimately, because I saw a stage, you have star quality this month. This is definitely the star card coming in. But there's the dimming energy. So it's really more star reverse, because I couldn't see you on stage. You were somewhere between stage and somewhere in the theater. So I want you to really know who you are. That's why I'm asking you to kind of clarify it to, not to me, but to yourself and to the universe, so that it can show up and it can provide synchronicities for you. Make sure that you have room to grow wherever you're at. And if there's someone that's trying to mute dim or temper your light or your dream, it may not be the place. It may not be the time. It might be time to move on. All right, the next thing that came through was a really interesting message. I wrote this down, and I can't remember the exact visual that came through in my dream, but I know from my experience with flowers, for those of you that are horticulturists or botanists, you might know this, but so when a flower blooms and is pollinated by a bee or a hummingbird or a beetle or something, a lot of times it'll create a seed pod, and you have a choice, if you are growing a flower, to decide to either let it put all of its energy into propagation and have a really good seed, and then take that seed and you have more of the flower, but the growth of the plant may be stunted because it all went into the seed. So if you do that, that's a choice. You can also, I believe it's called deadheading, but you can just take off the pollinated pod before it develops. And then what happens is the flower, sometimes there'll be a new flower that pops up so you can get a second bloom. Sometimes the plant will just keep growing. And if you want it to keep growing, you can keep snipping off those flowers and you'll just get more foliage. The foliage then can absorb energy from the sun. The root system or bulb or whatever is going to, or rhizome, will grow more. And sometimes when you don't let something bloom, it grows more. So this could be a choice in your life to hold off on an opportunity, or if you had a setback, it could actually be the universe saying, you will shine, you're going to shine even brighter. This didn't work because this is what we want you to do. So if you've had a setback and you're ready to shine and people around you aren't ready, realize that you have a breakout opportunity coming. It's either now or later, and you get to choose sort of what you want to do with that. So sometimes a setback is a blessing. And I think that this small sacrifice, this setback or trade-off, it could actually be setting you up for exactly what you need to succeed, to grow. So with this, though, the difference is I feel like it's more of an internal choice, because as like I said, a horticulturalist, a botanist, or a farmer, you have a choice to take that seed off or let it grow. So for you, there may just be this point where you've grown enough in a certain situation and you're going to move on. There's something about this where I just see like there's a choice. How much more do you want to invest in this moment? Are you blooming enough? Are you shining enough? Are people coming through and cutting you off and not letting you ever bloom? Because it's not good to do that all the time. So you're going to have to kind of assess it for yourself. There's a choice there, but I feel like there's an inevitability for you of success, of shining, of blossoming, of growing. Are you in the right place? And did you step back for a reason? And if not, then it's time to kind of shine and move on. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. The last piece of this is really to keep on reaching and see every event as a cosmic helping hand, which is something that in my latter part of my life here that I've learned when I was a lot younger. Like when you're a kid or you're in school, sometimes it just feels like I didn't get it and that's wrong and nobody likes me or the universe is against me. I don't feel like that's the case. I feel like sometimes you're being pointed in another direction. There can be people in your life that are just not helpful. I know I've experienced that, and even now I'm still experiencing it. Sometimes people won't listen to you, right? You tell them something, but they're not listening. They're in their own heads. That's a completely different situation. But when the universe is kind of nudging you, if you have a series of rejections, like you've applied for a job and 3 or 4 times at the same company, you're getting no's, you probably shouldn't work there. If you've been trying to get someone to call you back and they don't call or they always flake out, they're trying to tell you that they're not interested. If you're putting in applications or maybe an offer for a house and it keeps falling through, probably not what you need as well. Multiple rejections, let's say 3, 5, 10, 100. At a certain point, the universe is saying, please, why aren't you listening? There's something better. Look around. 4 of Cups, there's a new opportunity floating. Kiwi, forage a little bit. Find that there's something we want you to look at. So rejections can be redirection. A cutoff at one point is not necessary. This is where the flower metaphor really works. So at some point, the universe might be coming in and saying, save it, because right over there is where we want you to shine, but you're going to have to move. You're going to have to transplant. So maybe for some of you, that's what it is. It's moving to a different environment. It's getting into a different relationship. It's trying your skills in a different way. So if you look at it from that way, it becomes very powerful, and you're actually being supported 100% of the time. You're not a victim. You're being supported. All right, let's look at what's next. Okay, let's see. This one is really interesting. very technical, one of my guides must be more techie than the others, but what I saw was just you hitting the delete key, and I just saw everything on your computer just deleting. And then you thinking, wait, I went too far. So I feel like if there's something going on and you feel like, oh, I failed, this isn't working, I need to just start from scratch, the answer was don't start from scratch. Just edit. There's a difference between editing and sort of like cosmically blowing the whole thing up. So take the pieces that work, put them in a different order, take the other pieces and see what else you can do with it. Editing and rearranging something is better than starting from scratch completely. I'm all for a good reboot, but even a reboot with your computer, it doesn't mean that you're deleting it. It means that everything's there and you're just gonna start from like a clean headspace because you're clearing out the memory, right? But you're not clearing off the hard disk. So the information's still there, you're just gonna try again. So you have something good, you have the roots in place, but it just feels like some pruning is necessary. Don't cut the tree down to get back into a plant metaphor. Just trim it, okay? And then finally, specifically, I was being shown legal paperwork. It could come in the form of like a passport. It could be a marriage certificate. It could be a contract, but it was something legal and it involved you and another person. Get some extra eyes on this. I saw delays. I saw some complications. It doesn't mean that you can't get through it. It means that you need some more expertise to help you really get where you need to be. Okay. So quick mental summary here, and then I'm going to get into the next portion, which is the Celtic Cross. The Kiwi came through as a grounded symbol of divine femininity, which means that there's something in this moment in time that you need to pay attention to. You can and you will move on, but it will be better if you finish and sort of get some closure on the present situation. Also, it may take a little bit more time to nurture or bring something to fruition because Kiwis take longer to incubate, longer to hatch, but they're stronger birds for that experience. So learn from the Kiwi there and don't rush things. You might be put on the spot this month with respect to who you are, what you want, and how you want to show up and how maybe other people need to show up. So be ready for that. And you have a star quality this month. Trust it, shine. If other people can't see it, that's on them, not on you. If there's some sort of a trade-off of deciding like, I'm gonna save this until later, I just see growth. It's really a choice for you on where and how you want to sort of shine. But it seems like an inevitability, but don't do it just for others, do it for you. And finally, don't throw everything out. Start from like taking the sort of, it's almost like keep the foundation in place. You can clear, you can push down a wall or something like that, but don't demolish the house, don't cut down the tree. Keep the structure. It feels like the structure's okay, but the organization inside or a few of the things need to be rearranged. That's all. And then of course we were just talking about contracts. So that's your mini review of what we talked about. I'm gonna stack all these cards up. I'll have some additional insights when we get to the midpoint, so don't worry if you couldn't see one of the cards or wanna learn a little bit more. We'll get to that later. Speaking of seeing the cards, you can always go to the community tab. It should be up by tomorrow, but I try to do it end of day or next day. I will post an image of all of these cards on the community tab, also on Instagram, also on Facebook, also on my website. So there's lots of places where you can see the cards, which is why I'm not holding each one up. And I'm also just using them to jog my memory. So it's not all 100% literal. I'm kind of just, it's just here to kind of help me. But if you're curious and you want to see them, I post them everywhere on social media. So it's a good time to follow me on social media. Like I said, if you just joined, you can hit the like button one time during this. If you do it twice, it unlikes it. And if you haven't yet subscribed and you've watched me for a while, I would love you to join me. We're going to get into the reading now. And again, this is going to be all aspects of your life. I don't just do love. So let's see what the messages are for you. And I'm excited to see what's in store for the month ahead, Aquarius. Sun, rising, moon. And the interesting thing with the way that I work is especially those channeled messages, they can apply to anybody that's present or who watches later. Same thing is true for the rest of this. So if you're here and you like what you see, stick around. There are probably messages for you. Okay, we have a card that volunteered. All right, let's take a look at your messages for the month ahead. We have the shapeshifter in the center. The card was reversed. So for some of you, there could be this sort of feeling of uncertainty when it comes to moving into a new situation. The way that the catalyst card functions is that it helps you stay on track. It helps action happen in your life, obviously, because it's called a catalyst. And it really helps you avoid danger as well. So with this card reversed, I would say for you, it feels like you're in the middle of a change, a metamorphosis. But in order for that metamorphosis to happen, there has to be this sort of internal belief. And on some levels, you may not be believing what's happening. Think of it as the judgment card reversed. So if you don't believe yourself, how will I believe you? And there may also be someone in your life who's showing up unexpectedly. It could be someone really beneficial. It could be someone who let you down a little bit. They've changed. So either you're changing or the people around you are changing. The truth is there's probably a combination of the both because, as we move, as we shift, people have a choice in our life to either raise or lower to our frequency, depending on which direction we're going, or kind of orbit out and find someone else. So the more you change, the more people will change around you. And everything seems to be about change this month. So I see movement. Like I said, you don't always have to be going from point A to point B. You can move right here in place. And I've used the metaphor or the example of how the planet rotates on an axis, how the planet Earth also rotates around the sun, how this galaxy is in a spiral arm of, this solar system's in a spiral arm in the galaxy, and then the galaxy is moving outward with this sort of group of galaxies, and the universe is expanding. So like there's multiple levels of movement. Even when we're just sitting here and thinking nothing's happening, everything's happening. So there's subtlety to the evolution, to the metamorphosis, to this sort of chrysalis moment that's happening, but it's happening. So that's what's happening here. And it's just saying, pay attention to the subtlety because you're going to see some growth and some shifts within. All right. Let's move to the center card. Really like what I see, and this makes sense because I told you the Kiwi bird is really good for a loyal kind of friend or partner that's coming in. Now the card is reversed, and there's something important with the reversal here. If the other person, you don't want to force it. We have the 5 of Wands. It either is or it isn't. So if it's possible for you to feel love, but for the other person not to feel that love, don't force it because that's a projection. That's a fantasy. So if somebody is not responding to you, whether it's emails or traditional messages or voicemails or whatever, like I said earlier, that's a subtle form of I'm not interested, or the universe is saying, this person's busy, move on. But for you as a sign, the Lover's card is one of the best cards you could get at the center. It's extremely magnetic. And the reversal of it is saying, don't sell yourself short. You have a lot to offer. And you should never have to prove yourself like that to someone. I want someone to look at you and see that you are that nice rose here that this little prince is holding. You have the capacity to be all of what they expect and more. And so you should feel it from within. A little bit of work internally needs to be done on trusting yourself, and then letting the other person show up or not show up, and letting that be. One reason that I don't focus so much on love is that it almost becomes an obsessive thing for a lot of tarot readings here. It's all about your person. It's all about the other person. It's not. I mean, they're important, but it's also about you and why the focus is so much on that. So relationships are important, but so are you. So focus on self-love, self-growth, and self-confidence this month because it's going to benefit the relationships. You won't be putting so much burden or energy or power on the other person. And that's the message here. Yes. Can you find love this month? Absolutely. It's the center card. But before you go into that category of looking for someone or trying to dig a little deeper, like the bird would in this current situation, dig deeper within and just think, how do I feel? Where am I at? How would I look at myself externally if I were to meet myself in a cafe and we would have a conversation? Would I be inspired? Would I be worried? Would I want to help? And use that to inform yourself on where you can grow this month. Because yes, love is possible. Yes, you have this magnetic quality. You're the star or the Lover's card. So it's good. Let's just look at the other aspects of it and we'll get a little bit more information on how this is going to track for all the different types of relationship status I read for everybody. So whether you're single and looking, single and happy, or in a relationship, or retired and you don't care. I'll kind of look at all of those. So just give me a second. First things first, we need to look at the 5 of Wands, which is tempering that card. Shouldn't have to force it. It should be 50-50. It should be cooperative. There should be honesty. And what we see in the 5 of Wands sometimes is competition. It's not necessarily forcing it so much. That would be more 7 of Wands. But there sometimes could just be a question, and it's a question for you. Is the work worth it? Do you want to put the work in? So whether it's for yourself or someone else, that's what you have to sort of think about. Is it worth it? And if you have a question mark or it's a no or I don't think so, listen to it. Listen to what you say. If it's a yes or a heck yes or yes, exclamation, exclamation, perfect, you're on the right track. There's some work necessary in any successful relationship, friendship, love, parent, all of that. You're always going to need to put work in. It's not just what we see in, Hollywood or on a romance novel at the grocery store or something. There's a lot more to it than that. And this is reminding you that you can have both. You can have love, but there's also, growth and work that's necessary with this. So let's look some more. The other thing with this, taking it way outside of relationships, are you satisfied with your job? Are you satisfied with your activities if you're retired or unemployed? This card is really about finding fulfillment. And you may be making others happy or doing a lot for others, but I want to make sure that there is that sense of self-fulfillment as well. You're very good. All air signs are very good at understanding others and kind of putting them sometimes first, but I want you to, this month, focus on the personal development and the grounding because of the Kiwi that we saw earlier. 6 of Cups. This is boding well for romance, I have to say. I'm looking through everything. It might be for some of you, though. This could be sink or swim. I'm going to put it this way because your outcome card is 10 of Swords. So what I see here for some of you is that there's a deep friendship, relationship, or love, but there could have been a falling out. So there's a choice right now, and it's a choice you have to make because the 8 of Swords is telling me that the other person isn't giving you a lot of indication. So whether work, relationship, or some other aspect of your life, what I'm seeing here is that there was something that you derived great joy from. And right now, there's a question of, is it enough? So we'll get into that in a second. 6 of Cups, increased focus on children and family and friendships in your life. This may take priority over love relationships, and it may take priority over work. 6 of Cups are people in your life that bring you that sort of jubilant energy because we've got 2 child cards here. 6 of Cups is usually 2 children, and the Sun is usually a baby. So a lot of childlike energy. I saw an egg basically with the Kiwi bird that I was looking at earlier. So for some of you, there could be a new beginning in your life. It could be a new baby, or it could be something that you're birthing. And on some levels, it could be a rebirthing, which is why I was saying, don't throw everything out. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? There's actually that phrase. So in this case, absolutely. There's something to be salvaged from something that you worked on. 6 of Cups actually is like 2 babies, and I see the 1 baby here. So maybe there's a project, maybe there's an idea, maybe there's something that you built, and you're going to take a key component of it and give it a new life. The Sun card can be a rebirth. So what we're seeing here is that it doesn't have to be so final. The 10 of Swords reverse is about healing and about not trying to be so binary, because this is a very black and white card. So I would say look at what you can salvage from what's going on. Looks like there's a silver lining, a really nice silver lining, literally the sun here, right? So I think that that's really cool. Okay, we have the 4 of Wands here, recent past. So right here, right now, as many of you are watching the live, you're already setting up the next opportunity. We see the fox kind of dancing here to your flute, right? I think it's a flute. So you're setting up and calling in the next best thing, the next awesome experience in your life. So no matter what is happening around you, no matter how you feel, you've already put this sort of seed in the ground and something really cool is going to grow. I like it. You've done the necessary work. One thing that I can say, Aquarius, is it feels like you've been working really hard. 5 of Wands and Lovers at the center. Whether or not, like I said in my kind of dream messages, this tells me that people love your work, even if they can't physically say it. This is love personified. This is work personified. They love your work. Do you love your work? Is your love for your work enough? Do you need their love to make it okay? These 2 cards are showing people reacting well to you as well. 6 of Cups is great. It's friendship. 4 of Wands is partnership, monogamy, dedication. So for those of you that are working really hard, I'm seeing all of that paying off. Even if you can't grow the way you want to where you're at, you're going to be able to take the relationships that you've built, and they're going to be able to help you find new things in your life. No matter what, you're doing great at the center. Hard work, appreciation for the hard work, people that are noticing, eyes that are on you. And yeah, what is the sun but a star too, right? So that's the star energy, even if it didn't overtly come through as the star. It's a baby, it's the star, it's your ego, it's your personality, it's your charisma, and it's the crowning card. So I want you to shine as best you can to really allow for that growth to happen that we see here, okay? And we see, interestingly enough, the balance here of divine, feminine, and masculine because he's on the moon, right? So, so this is a really cool card, the way it's illustrated. So this is your time to shine. This is also like the silver lining coming up around all of this. So whatever you're experiencing right now, there's some sort of beautiful silver lining that's going to help you realize that it was all for something bigger and better. The sun card is time-based as well. It can be one revolution around the sun. So an annual cycle. I was talking to a sign recently about that. I think it must have been Capricorn. They were on a new annual cycle. So it could be you 1 year from now in a different place. It can also be associated with a calendar summer for you. So in North America, that's really, and I would say the Northern Hemisphere, so anywhere in Europe as well. This is summer, so right around the corner. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, it really is more kind of like next year if you want to kind of see it as a calendar related. But we're seeing something within the next 6 to 12 months. Nice growth, nice movement. It's right there on the tip of your tongue, okay? Here's what you can do to make it happen. This is probably why I saw a passport. We have the Page of Wands. The idea needs to move beyond its present location. You don't necessarily have to literally move or travel, but it feels like the necessary connection may be in another state, province, or country. So if you would normally just work in your current community, reach out. There's a global connection that can make all the difference here. There's another mind, because a Page of Wands is someone that's going to get your mental drift that will be able to help you take it to the next level. So extend beyond your borders. You don't have to physically travel anymore, but it feels like there's someone or maybe a company or a connection that is the necessary point that will help you get to the next place. So I like that. This is a really good time for your ideas to take flight, or in this case, to sort of move. I like that we really don't have a plane. There is a plane in this deck, but it's not showing up. So thus far, all of your symbols for movement have been grounded. So the train is very grounded. So it feels like you're moving, but you may not be seeing it from the bird's eye perspective. You may not be able to physically go to where you want to be, but the message is moving, the idea is moving, and you want to keep the momentum as well, kind of moving forward. All right. Now let's go to one of your potential tripping points this month. We have the Eight of Swords, which can be sometimes a prison that we create for ourselves, right? And it's usually you see someone blindfolded, but here we see, again, sort of you've painted yourself in a corner. With the card reversed, it's saying, let's get out of that. Let's not worry so much about what we can't see. It's exactly what I was saying with the theater reference. Sometimes your visual spectrum is only like, 2 or 3 rows out, but the theater may go back 50 rows or 100 rows. And if that's the case, you're missing the bigger picture. So you don't know what's around the corner and you don't know what's on the horizon. Focus on doing what's right and don't get caught up in the barbs and the wires and the swords here, or the snake, all of that stuff in front of you. It's just there to test you. And you've worked beyond that. You've earned this opportunity and you can get beyond that. Because this is in the ego, there may have been someone in your life that purposely tried to sort of, it's kind of like gaslighting, but they sort of put this, they're making you question yourself, or they're fogging up the periphery a little bit. So if there's someone in your life and they make you doubt yourself, this was another message that I didn't have time to write, but I'm sharing with you now. If there's someone in your life that makes you feel less than or makes you doubt your skills or your confidence or whatever, it's time to pull back from that, because they're just trying to pin you down in place, and it's not worth it, okay? So this is an illusion, and it's time to move past the illusion of being stuck or being basically pigeonholed into one place. you have much more capacity than that. So that card was reversed. So is this one. We have the 5 of Cups. It's shifting your perspective. And sorry, that's my neighbor's dog outside. Shifting your perspective. And what we see with the 2 cups, it's interesting with this one. Usually, I'm pretty sure it's usually 3 cups down and 2 cups up. So this one's actually a little bit more optimistic, and I like it. So you have a lot more to gain. This is also about the delete button. There's only a couple things that need to be changed right now. There may be a couple things that you've lost, but there's so much more that you can keep and work from. Okay, so I like that we see the 3 cups up, the 2 cups down. Don't focus on what's lost. Things are not as bad as they seem. Don't worry, Little Prince, you're going to be fine. Don't worry, Aquarius, you're going to be fine as well. Okay, and we also see this sort of autumnal energy here. It's just like the seasons. We lose, we gain. We lose, we gain. We die, we come back again. So this is a season of change, right? So just change with it. Don't worry, you'll have a chance to fill those cups up again with something different, something better, something brighter in the future. All right, let's take a look. Well, this is in your environment, by the way. So you could have someone, parent, friend, lover, that is unwilling, incapable, or just stubborn and won't look at things from a bright or sunny perspective. And guess what? That's where your head is. When I look at the crowning card, this is like your headspace. So you're in this very optimistic point, or you could or should be there. If there's someone around you that's constantly bringing up critical stuff, it's good to have constructive criticism, but you know there's people that just have a cloud around them. The cloud would be the 8 of Swords. So let's move beyond those people and see it from another perspective. Don't argue with them, because I don't see it actually going anywhere with the 10 of Swords at the end. We'll talk more in a second about that. But let's move to hopes, fears, and opportunities. We have 9 of Cups. The 9 of Cups for me is a very, very positive card. It's telling me that things are trending pretty good. When it's reversed, sometimes you're losing track of that positivity, and you can sometimes think of like one setback. So if you, let's say you're a musician or something and you have an album out, it's got a lot of streams, it has a lot of really positive reviews, but like, I don't know, Rolling Stone or some magazine gives you 1 or 2 stars less than you wanted, but the rest of them look pretty good. You can't worry about it. Even if that was your favorite magazine, who cares? Same thing happens for if you're in school, you got a bad grade. If you've been working really hard to make something happen and someone only notices something negative, just let it go. There's always going to be one critic in the room that thinks that they know better than you, that you're not good enough, and they're going to complain. There's always someone on my video that will hit a thumb down. I don't look at it. I just look at that and I think, bless them. They must be in a dark place to do that. So whatever, it's always there, right? So you just move on and you keep on chugging, like we see with this train. It's not worth it. There's a lot to be grateful for. So focus on gratitude. What can you do right now to show that gratitude, to show that appreciation, to show people that, you know what, I'm not going to let that. I'm going to dust myself off. I'm going to keep moving, and I'm going to prove to myself, not so much to you, that I have what it takes. And they'll eventually see it. And if they don't, who cares? Because guess what? They have blinders on, right? They're not looking. Someone in your life just isn't looking or perceiving like the potential that you have. Okay. If this is a boss or a lover, there are some things that we want to focus on for that, because that could have bigger ramifications. But wait a second until I get into the expanded forecast, and I'll kind of contextualize what we're looking at. All right, finally, we have the 10 of Swords in the outcome. It's reversed, and if we're going to get the 10 of Swords, I'd rather see it reversed, just like I'd rather see the Devil or the Tower reversed, because it means you have more power. Your power could be that speaking up opportunity that I said here, which if I pull the card here, it's really about people coming to you and they're going to ask you, what do you want, right? What do you want, and what do you want from them? How do you want to show up? There it is. You're being put on the spot. So when this happens, you're going to be able to avoid falling into a trap of saying the wrong thing, because you will have thought it out. And you can simply say, I'm so glad you asked. I've been thinking about that too. This is what really makes me happy. This is where I feel like it's not working. And I'd love for your support and help in making a change happen. So just get that point ready. If a relationship is broken and you're in a relationship and it's just not working, be ready to honestly talk to the other person about what you need from them. Being accountable where maybe both of you have failed a little bit, but don't argue. The argument is not going to help much here. So I'm just going to turn the card upright. It's basically a lot like what we saw with the Eight of Swords. It's kind of pinning you both down. And sometimes what's said can't be unsaid. In the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith card, you see a pool of blood. It's gory. It's the darkest, one of the darkest cards in tarot, but it's there to remind you not to go there, right? It can feel good in the moment to say all that stuff, but don't. The one positive, if you've already said it, if the argument's already happened, it will only get better from here. Typically on a traditional card, you see darkness, you see the blood, you see all this stuff, and then you see this new dawn at the top, this new day that's beginning. So it will only get better if you've kind of hit that bottoming point, bottoming out, but it's also something that you can avoid right now. It's interesting. I actually have a pain in my back as I'm doing this. So there's also a health note. I'll show you where it's at. It's squarely, like it's right there. So I had a little psychic pain that hit me in the back. Yeah, it's just above the midpoint. Some of you may be having some back pain. It's coming back again. So I definitely feel the back pain for some of you. I want you to take a look at your chair and make sure that you have enough support in the spine. Take a look at your bed. If you haven't replaced your mattress in a long time, like 8 years, you should probably do that. If the pillows are kind of all crumbled mess, get better pillows, make sure your neck is supported, all of that stuff. And if you've been, focus on how you're twisting and kind of moving your body. An ergonomic evaluation would be good, particularly for those of you that are now working from home. It doesn't always make sense to do all of your work from the kitchen. You might have to set up a proper office nook for that kind of work. But I'm definitely getting some pain in the back as I'm looking at the Ten of Swords. So it's not just communication, my guides are showing me. For some of you, it's about posture and spinal health. So do what you need to do, obviously talking to a doctor or a chiropractor, and get that taken care of, okay? Let's expand your forecast now. We're gonna look at health, wealth, love, and destiny, and we'll go a little deeper into all of these messages. We'll begin with the health message. I start energetically and then I go physical. We just sit on the physical a little bit. I just mentioned chiropractic help. I think some of you might also benefit from Reiki or any sort of other healing energy. Yoga is good too, but energy healing is coming up, working with crystals, all of that. We have Merlin, which is a magician, which is showing the capacity to change. He's also the chemist, or like I would say the magician in tarot is also the chemist. So when it comes to what's going on in your medical history, take a look and make sure that there's no interactions between any of your dietary choices and any medications that you might have or any health conditions that you might have. Make sure that if you have different doctors prescribing different things, make sure that there's no sort of, again, interactions between the two where one's muting or exacerbating some of the side effects of another. Look at the chemistry. So looking at what you're eating and what you're taking as far as medication, there could be a little bit of balancing to work there. You may benefit from healing and you can make a change happen because to me, Merlin is the magician. Put your mind to it and you'll see a shift happen in your body. Okay, I like it a lot, actually. The Kiwi has a really acute sense of smelling. I think when I was reading on a couple of the zoological sites that I was doing research on, it's one of the few birds that actually has like that sense of smell in the beak. Not every bird can do that. So pay attention to your sinuses as well. I've noticed because the springtime flowers are, even with wearing the mask, it happens. There are certain blooms that, the pollen gets through the mask and you're sneezing. So you could just have seasonal allergies. There could be something with, your deviated septum or something like that. So if you're having any problems with your nose, whenever I have a bird and I see the beak, and that's something you want to pay attention to is the sinuses. Let's look at the cards really quick and see if there's any additional messages. One of the most obvious ones is don't ignore a warning sign. The Eight of Swords is blinded, just like the Two of Swords is. The Eight of Swords is really not paying attention. Sometimes the Two of Swords is more about indecision, but both of them can be turning a blind eye towards something. So if it doesn't feel right, I just go anyway. You've got to talk to somebody. Better to find out what you're dealing with than to wait and to have it potentially be worse than if you had just talked to someone initially. Your cards are actually pretty good other than the Ten of Swords. So I think that most of this is about posture, lumbar pain, something like that. And for some of you, sinus pain. And then maybe the interactions that are going on. Standard disclaimer applies. I'm not a doctor, but I'm picking up on energetic areas to focus on. So go talk to the professionals in your life to get the help that you need, especially if anything like this is going on for you. Okay, let's look at wealth, which for those of you in school, this is your opportunities. For those of you working, it can be money, it can be growth. And for those of you that are retired, it's what you're getting from your days, from your time, from your energy, sort of like the exchange, right? So we have renewal, and the card was reversed. So what I'm seeing here is a new beginning, but it may be unexpected. It may be sort of something thrown in your lap too, where you're sort of thinking, I didn't think I could do that, or I didn't expect this. And this is where people could be, again, pointing to you and saying, how about this? Why haven't you tried this? Or I think you would be really good for this. Is there any reason you wouldn't be? So I feel like there's a chance, or you could speak up and say, I want to do that. Some way, shape, or form, your communication could bring in a brand new period of growth and opportunity for you. And it looks really good. So wherever you have been and whatever roadblocks you've felt, this is not the end. There's a new beginning. There's a new opportunity. Look around a little bit, because even though Five of Cups is not as sort of, they both have this, in both cards, you're not looking at what's in front of you, right? You're looking at something else. You're looking at what's been lost, or the Four of Cups, you're sort of like looking at what others might have in relation to you. So look around, dig a little deeper like the Kiwi bird, and you might find that there's something else that could offer that growth opportunity. It might be time to move on. But whatever's going on, I feel like there's still a chance for a renaissance for you. So either stick around and make the change happen, or move on and make the change happen somewhere else. Let's look at money in particular. I don't think we got any pentacles. I often don't notice this until we get into the wealth card. So we don't have any pentacles, which is really interesting. So an absence of something is still a message. This has happened a few times over the past few months, particularly with pentacles. It kind of makes sense because the focus over the past year has been on health. Many people have had unemployment, underemployment, or work is not the main focus. I want you to avoid burning out. These two cards together are burnout. So this is working hard, and this is burning the candle at both ends to the point that you get sick. Can't afford to get sick, even with vaccination. Even if your energy frequency is really high, you just don't want to do that to your body. So be realistic with what you can and can't do, and have some better limits. And it feels like you just need to speak up, and you need to, the renewal can be a vacation. It can be taking a sick day if you need to, taking care of health, prioritizing health first and foremost. And if you've had something really not so fun that you went through, whether it's COVID or whether it's a back pain or surgery, this also shows me healing is possible. So all of those things are coming through with respect to work and also health, because they're intrinsically tied together. So I think it's time to start something new. I have to say this when we're looking at renewal. So you either need to turn a new leaf, or you need to do something different, okay? So that you're not, I also would love for you to fight for more. Feels like you need more, because I'm not seeing the money, and I'm seeing a lot of cards here, 8 of Swords and 10 of Swords, maybe not being recognized. So in this case, I said I was going to talk about that when it came to career. If people can't see you and they're not listening to what you say when you speak up, it's absolutely time to find something else and call your own bluff. Like if you want to try to use that as leverage to see if they'll keep you, fine. But I remember what we've been talking about today. If people are ignoring you, one way, shape, or form, that's a sign. Do you really want to stay there if you had to force their hand to give you more, or to give you that position? If you have something waiting for you somewhere else, only you can answer that. But unless there's retirement or some sort of an investment there, maybe that makes sense. But otherwise, I always think it's better to go where people see you. And one last note with this, with respect to everything in life, if someone says no, if someone pushes back, if there's no answer, the no answer means it's a no. It's time to move on. So take that and run with it and do something better with it, okay? Let's move along to love and relationships. Isolation makes a lot of sense, even as we're starting to come out a little bit. Not every country is. There's a lot going on. As I watch the news, like with India, I know that there's a surge now with what's going on, and there's things closing down. So we're still feeling this sense of being alone and being isolated. And even as this card is reversed, as we come out of hermit phase eventually, when things are a little bit more normal, it's going to take time. We're going to have PTSD from what's been going on in 2020 and a lot of 2021. So This is a slow process of renewal, of regrowth. What are you doing right now to reconnect? The cool thing with Six of Cups and Four of Wands, these are friendships that last. So if you are going through a really difficult time, lean on this. This is your deep past, this is your recent past. So you've met some new good friends, and you have someone from the past that I feel like you could probably pick up the phone and talk to. Put a little bit of energy into those old relationships if you're feeling a lack of, because everyone is waiting for somebody to call. So somebody has to pick up the phone. Remember what I said, if they don't answer, that's a sign, but at least do the first thing. See what they do, and if nothing happens, honor that. It's really important to honor receptiveness, receptivity rather, I just made up a word, receptivity, because if you're not getting that receptivity from the other person, if they're not receiving it, that's a sign, and it's come through a few times, so I just want to keep saying it so that it helps you. Let's look at love though. If you're lonely, if you're looking for love, we're going to start with looking for love, then we're going to look at relationships, and then we're going to look at single and happy. So if you're looking for love, the message here is there's a lot to love, Aquarius. There's a lot of qualities about you that make you lovable. So see that and celebrate it. Some of you are working so hard that it's hard to make time for that. Remember what we saw when we looked at wealth, and it's kind of health too. It's time to take some time to yourself and renew. So there's more than work, and there's more than love. And you are part of that. So look at yourself and feel like you are enough, and open some space in your life for more, but don't fixate on it. That's the main message here. If you meet someone, it could go pretty fast. Like we have this, to me, is a soulmate or divine partner or a deep sort of karmic connection. So Six of Cups is good. And then the Four of Wands means it moves into something serious pretty quickly. So if you're looking for love, I see a lot of chemistry. The only thing that's, excuse me, going on here is communication may not be what it needs to be. I see that one person, they kind of get ahead of themselves. This Page of Wands is a really interesting illustration when it comes to people's cognitive process. So someone could be they're either getting carried away with how much love they feel for you, and maybe you're not there. And if that's the case, they need to stop, or you need to stop and make sure that everyone's on the same page. They're getting carried away, or you're getting carried away, or they're distant, they're somewhere else. So I see two people on two different mental planes, and it's important to get on the same page. And if it's not there, that's the focus first and foremost. And there could be miscommunications that ensue, so take your time. Again, think of the egg. Things take time. If you are looking for someone, the other thing that I'm seeing here, let me see, we've got the Page, and we really don't. The Page and the Sun, they're very young energies, I have to say. This is a little immature, and this is a little immature. So both sides are bringing a youthful, playful energy, but there's sort of, I feel like we need someone to kind of be stronger and step up, and I'm not seeing that. So that could be part of the challenge that's going on as well. In a current situation, if you're already in a relationship, a lot of what I just said applies, and I think the bigger problem is a feeling of you don't see me, you're not listening to me. I'm talking, but you're not hearing me. Your mind is somewhere else. So in marriage or long-term friendship, partnership, or work collaboration, I would say you really need to be looking at validating the person, actively listening, and making sure that they're reciprocating with that same active listening. Because if not, an argument will ensue, and it may not be because you hate them, it's because you're so frustrated at that person that they're not listening to you. And because you're an air sign, you need to have that cognitive connection, right? So definitely that makes sense. And for those of you that are retired, a widower or widowed, and maybe not even focusing on relationships, what I see for you is this great, great internal growth that's happening. No matter where you're at, Aquarius, you have this growth, the sun. This is a good month for you. So don't let the people in your life drag you down. Focus on what is going well, and there's a lot to love, and there's a lot, because if we look at the center, it's all about love. When we look at the top, it's all about this growth and expansion. So I feel like it's good. And the tests that are happening with respect to relationships in your life are really just sort of about how far you can shine, how far you can go. One thing that you might be doing if you have extra time and energy is just finding an outlet, because the Nine of Cups reverse can just be sort of like a lot of love or a lot of frustration. It's sort of like, what do I do with this, right? So this is your chance to find a really good channel for that energy right now, okay? So it's a good time for you overall. Traveling will be delayed a little bit. That's what I saw with the passport. Make sure that if you're making a trip that it's still a tentative time. I think be careful with all of this, but you should have something that can be canceled or rescheduled. You should be doing it on a credit card. You should have travel insurance in place. So for those of you that are looking to meet someone, because we're still in relationships here and you're distant, I feel like just be careful with that. I definitely saw some hiccups when it came to travel. All right, let's look at your destiny card. I mentioned sleep, and we've got it here. We have Hypnos coming through, sleep. The sleep card was reversed. So for some of you, you might just be actively receiving messages. For me, if I don't meditate enough, I have like a lot of psychic energy that will come through in my dreams. So sometimes if I do a lot of readings and then I have to see clients the next day, I'll actually receive psychic messages for the clients in my dreams. I just have to take all the notes, and it's because I don't have enough time to meditate before the appointment. So a way to get more restful sleep is just to meditate before you go to bed. And if you have something coming up, just sit down for a few minutes and write it down while you're awake. And then when you sleep, you can just chill out and it'll be nice. You can also ask your guides and angels and ascended masters to protect you. Set an intention before you go to bed. There's a video on my website about how to do that. And on YouTube, you can search for sleep rituals and things like that, and it will help. But basically, call in protection and set the intention. Like tonight, I just want to sleep. Let my dreams be just restorative. And ask to connect with the highest light of the universe, with God or the highest energy only. Archangelic or higher is what you can kind of say. And that way, you are being blessed and guided and sort of led into that nicer energy. And with destiny, don't fall asleep at the wheel. This is really interesting. My guides are telling me that too. And if you can take advantage of other people just not doing what they need to do. This is your moment to step up, to shine, to speak up, to raise your hand, to say, I want to do this. And it's too bad if other people are sleeping on the job. You are going to get ahead right now. That's what I see. So take advantage of this moment to really be active. So you could see this as like the Four of Swords reversed, because Four of Swords can be sleep. Four of Swords reversed can be busyness, and it can be a choice to kind of just move forward. I want you to get enough sleep, but I don't want you to be sort of sleepy when it comes to your future, which is what this card is representing, okay? So get the sleep you need and then be active during the daytime. Do what you need to do, right? We're going to do a mini review. It will not take long. This is really good if you just joined, because I know people joined at the midpoint. I'll try to keep this like 3 minutes, 5 minutes max. Then we're going to go into the soul space. And what I want to look at for you this month is why no. Okay, I'm going to write this down because I forget sometimes. So I'm going to write it down. So the first thing that I want to look at is what's going on with resources. So resource, because we got no pentacles. I want to look at the 10 of swords, and I want to look at like communication. And then we'll kind of let the last one be a wild card, but I'm really curious about when I don't see money, I want to see why there is no money or more exchange cards. And then I'll see if I want to go beyond the communication one when we get there. So quick mini review, and then we're going to go into the soul space. If you have a question that I haven't answered, save it, because at the end I answer a question pulling a single card. So we'll get to that in a second. So your spirit totem this month was the kiwi bird, not the kiwi fruit. The cool thing with the kiwi bird is that it is a divine feminine symbol for you. And it's one that shows that creation is at your fingertips. And it also is a very grounded symbol, even though it's a bird, because they don't have any wings. We'll talk about that in a second. Basically, the first thing that I focused on was the egg. And it was really interesting to find that it's unusually large for the size of the bird. And also it has like double the amount of yolk and sort of like energy that the bird needs to grow. So what happens is it stays in the egg a little bit longer. It doesn't have that sharp point on the beak that lets it get out. So it takes longer to hatch, but it hatches as a little mini mature version of the bird, which means, like you, it's independent, right? It has this capacity to hunt and to fend for itself. Lean into your independent and self-sufficient energy. Even though you didn't get a card, this is the 9 of Pentacles, basically. It's the ability to fend for oneself and also to have something sustainable, right? Don't worry if it takes a little bit longer for something to happen. I just talked about the benefits of this bird taking longer to hatch. Sometimes that that gestation or that sort of incubation period is important because it allows you to really get to what you're supposed to be doing. So yeah, it's taking longer, but it's the right kind of thing. Just focus on nurturing yourself, nurturing your dreams, and do things the right way the first time. It will save you time. Kiwis are foragers. They go into the forest and they dig up mostly insects and things. But what I liked about foraging is the ability to see things or find things that others weren't able to. So it's sort of like you can turn a new leaf or look at something and say, look at this, I just found it. Research, go back into your old emails or to your old paperwork, and you might be surprised by what you can find. It's like a hidden gem, a diamond in the rough, right? You can make the most out of opportunities even when others can't. You can keep digging when other people give up, and this is where you're going to shine, right, Aquarius? You may find that you're more energetic during the night, so focus on your ability to either use that energy or maybe start to take things out like caffeine or alcohol or nicotine so that your system is running cleaner and clearer. And it's interesting because we have this sort of smoky symbol of like the Industrial Revolution here. So you want to make sure that you are getting rid of some of that stuff in your body. We have loyal partnership as a part of Kiwis, and we see that with the 6 of Cups and the 4 of Wands. So I feel like you've done some great work that will bring that kind of energy into your life. And if someone doesn't recognize it or respect it, rather than fixating on them or trying to have them see what you see, focus on someone who does see it. Because if you look around the room, there might be someone who's waiting for you to catch their eyes and that they're like, yeah, I've been looking at you the whole time, right? So pay attention. There's someone who loves you, and you should love yourself as well. There's more than one way to move. You don't have to fly to move. And I'm so happy we got a train here, which is showing that you need to kind of like ground yourself and see some movement and growth in the present situation before leaving. That's going to help you. Be prepared to be put on the spot. And the question that I kind of got in my dreams was like, who are you? Like, what was happening is they were asking what your secret skill is and then what you wanted to do. So be ready to answer that question. What can you offer? What do you want? What do you want from them? How are they stacking up? It's a chance for you to speak up and affect something rather than wait for other people to tell you what to do. And that's so powerful. Whatever you decide to do, love, relationships, whatever, you really need to be doing it for yourself. We didn't get 6 of Wands, but we might as well have, because what I was seeing in my dreams was people were paying attention to you. It was like the person that's on stage or the person riding in on the horse, everyone looking at them. But you were kind of looking in the crowd for one person. Don't do that. Focus on the fact that you've done it, and whether or not you have that validation from the external source, it doesn't negate the work that's happening within. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean that other people can't. They just may not have the capacity to say, I love you, you're doing well, congratulations. You have the star quality this month. It came through as the sun. It's the same though. And you need to really have the room to grow and to shine. And if you don't, look at that and see, are people afraid for two sort of stars in the same place? In the universe, it's actually much more common to have binary stars than to have what we have in our solar system. So there's no reason 2 stars can't exist together. Sometimes you have to cut off a flower in order for the roots, the rhizome, the bulb to grow, but this shouldn't be happening all the time. So look at if you're constantly getting cut off. The flip side of this is that sometimes a sacrifice can actually pay off in the long run. So if you decided to sit one thing out, just make sure you raise your hand next time, because I want to see you use that stored energy and grow. Keep reaching every day. See everything as a chance to be nudged in the right direction. You don't have to throw everything out. Don't hit delete. Don't kind of like one bad review, one bad piece of feedback doesn't mean everything's bad. It's one opinion and you decide what to keep and what to toss. But I've found that there was a lot more to keep than to toss. So don't delete everything. And legal paperwork is going to take longer, especially passports rather, and travel. So give yourself time for those and have contingency plans, including insurance. You're changing, others are changing. Accept what they are showing you. It's their true selves. Allow yourself to kind of go through the metamorphosis or through the chrysalis. It's also really good. You can't stay still. You can't stagnate right now. The growth may be happening in place, just like the egg, another metaphor for a cocoon or for a chrysalis, but it's still happening. But once you poke through that egg, then you have to kind of move forward, move on. And it feels like that's going to happen one way, shape, or form. The Lovers at the center of this is saying, see yourself as a person capable of giving and receiving love in the highest form. Yes, you can find love. Yes, you can give love, but you have to love yourself first. I see a burnout here between the 5 of Wands and the 10 of Swords. I see a question of, are you getting what you need out of the energy that you're putting into work or a relationship? Is it a burnout, or are you getting reciprocity? Is the other person seeing you? The burnout may just be that they're not paying attention, and then you need to have that conversation. 6 of Cups, 4 of Wands, Sun. These are so good, Aquarius, so good. This is showing that you've done really great work in putting in sort of like this network here. And even if people aren't saying it, they're seeing it. And I see that with this. Yes, it's a good time for a new relationship. It could happen really fast. Things could happen really fast. If you want to start a family, this portends good things. If you don't, be careful because I see things happening fast, including possibly a baby. What we see here in the near future is the capacity for a distant connection to take your idea and develop it. Make sure that they don't take the idea and run. So protect yourself. That's the legal paperwork portion of it. Patents, copyrights, etc. Very important. But I see this sort of slower, but nonetheless growing energy when it comes to an idea or something or a project that you're working on. You need to be seen. You need to see others. You need to see things from all angles. Don't let one small thing take you off this otherwise really good trajectory. Communication is so important. Bite your tongue this month and find the right way to communicate it. Meditate a little bit and begin by trying to understand how the other person isn't seeing what's going on. Try to get into their headspace a little bit before you just jump into criticism. It'll save you a lot of time and energy later. As we look at health, you can make some magic happen. Literally, we have Merlin on the card. Some things you want to focus on absolutely are spinal health, not overworking yourself, making sure that you're getting some happiness and satisfaction out of what you're doing. In the body, also looking at any sort of interactions between drugs or medications. Also possibly opening yourself up to Reiki or other types of energy healing. All of these things are good with this. We see healing as the main message here, so focus on that internal healing. With wealth, we see a new beginning, turning a new leaf, maybe leaving and going somewhere else. It's the right time if that's the case. I'm missing the money, so we're going to look at the money in a second. I'm going to say, show me where the money is, and we'll get some insight into why the pentacles are missing. But I feel like for some of you might be that encouragement or that push, because the train can be a push to move on. So there you go. But I do feel like there is a chance for growth. You could change your title, your whatever it is that you're doing, but it just might require a move or moving on. Something about that is going to, there's a trade-off there involved. All right, so we have, as we go into relationships, isolation, feeling alone. When I look at this, it's really the Hermit card because you see her carrying the lantern. And I said you're the star, but for some of you, the loneliness or the isolation has cut off the perspective or the feedback that you would normally get that would reinforce the star quality. So you're showing up today to see that you are the star and that star quality exists, okay? Don't fall asleep at the wheel. And it's really time for you to take an active role in your life. Obviously, we talked about sleep being important. This card is reinforcing that as well. All right, let's go a little bit deeper and let's take a look at resources. That was what I wrote down. And I definitely, as I did the mini review here, I want to take a look and see, why aren't we seeing resources for you? So let's see what the message is around money, around the exchange of resource and time and all of that. And we'll see what the cards have to offer here. Okay, they're being a little stubborn, so let's shuffle them one more time. How can you find more abundance? And why are we not seeing abundance show up in the cards? You got another Magician card here. Really cool. All right, so with the Magician, make it happen. And also, don't spread yourself too thin. I love the Magician card, but he can be a little bit scattered because there's so much to choose from. So for those of you, it kind of feels like a choose your own adventure, and you could endlessly kind of go and try this way, try that way, and it just keeps kind of like forking off in different directions. So pick a path and move forward with it. And if people around you can't see it, then create it in your life. When I was a little kid, whatever I'm doing right now, this wasn't an option for me because the internet didn't exist. And yeah, it didn't exist, and I didn't know that this was something that I would do. But as I went further along the path, I was like, oh, this is something I could do. I'm going to make it happen. So yeah, this is something where you can do it, and there's a generalist energy with this. So you can step into any situation, you can mend it, you can fix it, but you have to see it, believe it, and focus. The magician, okay, magic only works if you believe it. In my book, I have a line that one of the characters says, I think it's Elijah. Elijah says, magic is a new truth waiting to be discovered. Yeah, it was him. He's a grandfather to the character that I wrote in the book. So I believe that what we call magic is simply energy that we don't understand. This is magic, but it's not magic. It's actually just metaphysics. And we're still learning about how energy works. So you have the capacity to manifest, but the belief part of it, which begins with self-love, is important. So the answer to it was hidden. Thank you, Kiwi bird. Do you love yourself? Do you feel the sense that you're worth it? Are you willing to go out on a limb and say, this is what I've done, this is where I'm at, I've earned this. So either step up or I'm stepping out. Because that self-love and that confidence, which is the sun card, has to kind of enter into this. Obviously, if you have a family, if you have people that depend on you, what you could do with this instead of giving an ultimatum is just to find or create a new opportunity, so that you're not putting yourself into a sort of perilous situation. But I just feel like you can make it work. You have the capacity to do something unexpected, and it should be a little unusual. It should be a little bit out of the lines a little bit. Draw outside of the lines and come up with something cool, right? All right. So I like that. All right, let's take a look now at Ten of Swords is interesting, Eight of Swords. So I want to look at how to maybe avoid what we're seeing with the 10 and the 8 of Swords. How can you be more aware? Because I see awareness and communication as being a part of this. All right, we have Four of Pentacles. Now we've got the money. So with the Four of Pentacles, it is a limiting card sometimes. What happens with the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith version of it is you hold that coin really close because you are afraid that what you have is all you're going to ever have. You're afraid that someone might take away what you've built. You're afraid that you might be, it's kind of an imposter syndrome. Like, I don't deserve more than I have. It is self-confidence, but it's a much different version of like Five of Pentacles. It's sometimes something that we create on ourselves, because Five of Pentacles can be friends, family, teachers, other people, but the Four of Pentacles can be something that you just are, it's your head. So it's in your head. What I'm going to say with some of this is it's in your head, and I want you to release the fear or the feeling that this will be all that there is, or that you can't ask for more or you don't deserve it. You can, you will, you should. You have to step forward a little bit. And it's not all about the money, as we see this sort of miser going through and calculating all the numbers. That's not all it is. We're going to fulfillment and love and self-confidence. As those things come into check, abundance naturally starts to come forth. This is also, when we look at communication, a really important card. This is telling me someone's pulling back, they're withholding in a very different way. Of the Six of Swords is someone just not answering, or kind of like ghosting you, going away a little bit. The Four of Pentacles is, I don't want to tell you. I'm concealing. There's a concealment, there's a hiding, there's a holding on for fear. So what you want to do to help the person that might be coming through with Eight of Swords and Ten of Swords is to say, this is safe. It's safe. I love you. You can't say something that's going to upset me, but by not saying anything, that will upset me. So as long as we're talking, we're good. If you stop talking, it falls apart. So just open up and we're going to be okay. I promise that I'll hold the space and I'll try not to overreact. I have to react because I'm human, but I'm going to really hold a safe space here, and I'm going to love you more for taking the risk and telling me, because somebody's holding back. And for some of you, it could be you holding back because you're afraid of being accepted. This happens a lot of times when people are coming out. They're afraid that people won't love them if they identify differently. It can also be when there's an announcement and you're afraid of saying it. It could be a good one too. It could be marriage. It could be launching a business and you're afraid of rejection. And then it can also just be the fear of giving away too much. I think it's good to keep privacy in your life in certain places, but there may be points where that sort of ability to just step outside a little bit and share will allow people to come in more. So if you can impart that on people around you, or if you can also bring that into yourself, it's going to be very, very valuable. There was a lot in the Four of Pentacles, wasn't there? All right, so let's take a look now at a wild card for how you can, what I want to kind of frame this wild card with is like, how can you be the sun? How can you be the star? How can you step up, even if there's some challenges going on in your life right now? The World. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we've got the World card. What a great card for you to come through. This is this is amazing for you. It's saying that it's a breakout moment. The world is a big change, and sometimes it's scary to go into the world energy. So I actually love that we have a bubble or a cosmic egg at the center here, because the whole thing that we were talking about at the beginning was kind of breaking through that bubble or through that egg. It's the moon, but he's kind of like inside the moon is what it looks like to me. So with the world card, let's break it down on the different levels on how you can break through and become the sun. So the world, if it's a professional card, it's really good for you because it shows that I talked about like writing, music, art, any performing sort of work. Also patents, scientific discoveries, and things like this. This would be publication, dissemination, and the dispersal of that. So basically, it's something that is going to get out there. It's a good card. And it tells me also completion. So if you've been holding on too long, it's time to break free of that egg, to hatch, to move on to the next big thing. This can carry with it the connotation of a couple of years. It can be a year, 2 years if you wanted to, just under 2 because it's 21, right? So for some of a year and 3 quarters, but I see like a big move on the horizon. This could be moving to a new country. This could be moving here. This could be graduation. This could be moving in with someone. It's something that would significantly shift all aspects of your life. It's everything the tower isn't, because the tower is sort of like falling apart. This is about breaking through and moving through and pushing through. So yeah, you're at the end and a beginning, basically with this. So embrace this capacity for growth. Don't limit yourself. Reach out. And we saw a little bit of that with this as well. So Aquarius, are you ready to start something new? Are you ready for that new beginning? Have you been looking for new places to work, to live, to love? Because that's all of what this card is. And sometimes there's a fear of letting go. Like, what's after this? It's almost like it can be a fear of mortality. It can be but mortality more in the lens of like, if this job ends, if this relationship ends, if this moment ends, what's next? Well, if we take a lifetime as an example, true mortality, we are eternal. We are actually immortal beings. We just keep changing our skins every lifetime. So we have the shape-shifting kind of capacity. So there's no true end. We're always changing. We just sort of in this lifetime don't see it because we're in the skin that we're in. So don't be afraid of change. There'll be more. There's always more. And it's usually better the next time around. So I would just start planning for what you're trying to launch, what you're trying to do next, and some really cool stuff will be happening. Okay, let's leave some time for meditation. I had a lot of messages today, so I'm running a little bit over. Thanks to Maria, my moderator today, for helping out. We're going to meditate quickly. And before I do that, just a quick reminder that, first of all, thanks for all the support. It's actually been helping all of you that have been sharing this or liking this with others, liking or sharing this with others. So if you haven't already done that, again, a reminder, you can only hit the like button once per video, and you should only subscribe once in a lifetime. But feel free to also share this and then comment below when this is on replay. And if you'd like to give some support right now, it helps more than you would imagine with me being able to get new decks and just supplies here, because I go through a lot of supplies. So super chat or applaud later. It helps me a lot. You can join the channel as well and become a member, or join me on Patreon. And finally, before I get into the meditation, just a reminder that I'm on all major social media platforms, and especially on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I will put story reminders of what's coming through. I can actually put links in these two up at the top here. So Instagram and Facebook. I'm at Nicholas Ashbaugh on all social media except Twitter, which is @Ashbaugh. And a reminder that I do not message people directly. I will not ask for anything in messages. Sometimes there's imposters that pop up. The only way to talk to me is here on the live, right? So thanks for showing up. Let's meditate. And before I get into the meditation, this is a reminder that I want you to start thinking about what it is that you want some guidance on. What's your question? What haven't I sort of touched upon? We talked about love and career a bit, but maybe there's something else going on in your life. Keep the question internally and just sort of project it out to me as we wrap up the meditation. And I'll pick up Apollo's toys here before I get into the next piece. What I want you to do is hold those questions, and what I will do then is at the end I'll pull a single card and we'll focus on what the answer is. It'll be a yes, no, and it will also be a deeper question, kind of like I did with the Four of Pentacles. I can go a lot deeper even just with one card. So hold that in as we meditate. During this meditation, what I'd like to do as I'm looking at all of this, I like the Hermit energy. We're going to go from the Hermit into the Star, basically. So many of you feeling this sense of isolation, of being kind of out there on your own. We're going to break through right now. So imagine that this is you. Imagine you're the Hermit and you're carrying a lantern. And hey, Apollo, and you're carrying a lantern and you're ready to step into the new you. You're ready to transform, to shapeshift, as we saw here. So imagine that what I imagine the Hermit is really, it's a star hidden within the robe. And it's kind of like, there's some characters in my book. I have Rigel, which is named after a star. And it's kind of in this transformative phase after it went supernova. But I imagine that we're all kind of like that sometimes. Right before we're ready to show our true selves, we're rearranging our elements and we're becoming that light being. So imagine that underneath this, this sort of robe that you're clad in, you have this star that you're carrying, which is kind of a reflection and an indication of what you truly look like. Imagine that you just start to stare into that star until you see your eyes reflecting on the sort of glass around it, because it's in a lantern, and then see the reflection of your eyes seeing the star and kind of go into the reflection and into yourself and see the star. Imagine that as you now close your eyes, you can go within your heart, your mind, your soul, and you can see this beautiful golden light. And if you want to still sort of see an outline of a being, you can see yourself as this beautiful, golden, luminous being standing there. And you can put the lantern down because you now have the star within you. And just imagine that you could reach out with each limb, with each hair on your head, with each part of your body, and you could just push light around you and shine. So for 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes here, depending on how much time we have, I'm going to play the singing bowl, and then I'm going to pull that last card to answer your question. Just see your light expand and go from being the Hermit to the Star. Take a nice deep breath, inhale. Stretch out a little bit on that inhale, and on the exhale, let go of anything that you were holding on to that was holding you back from that light. Just feel that warmth and that energy radiating all around you. Imagine that your auric field has grown by 3 or 4 times, and see that now in this orb of light, only the highest energy can exist. Anyone that shows up has to meet that frequency, and if they don't, they're going to go somewhere else. See that you have the Midas touch. Things that you touch are going to start to grow. Things are going to start to move. Believe in yourself and let others believe in you too. Hold that energetic light for a moment. And I want you to now think of the question that you want me to answer, whatever it might be. A question about career, about love, about health. Think about it. Let me pull the cards here in front of me and let's see what's going on with you. All right, we have the Emperor. So as a yes, no, this is a yes for sure. Aspects of this, if you're looking at a yes, no, would be that you have to take the initiative. This is like the ultimate boss card, right? Usually like King of Wands or Queen of Wands would also have that energy, or even the Empress. But the Emperor surely has what it takes to make it happen, but he has to do it himself, has to speak up, has to push things. There's also a warning with this to not get complacent and to not lose that sense of gratitude or grounding. The Kiwi bird, again, coming in to focus here a little bit to remind us to stay real, to be grounded. So, and also because the Kiwi is very much sort of like in the thick of things. So as a leader, as someone who's making something happen, make sure that you're connecting with everyone that's helping you do that as well. So never forgetting to say thank you, I love you, or I appreciate you, which is something that we saw with the Eight of Swords as a warning. So be grateful, be connected, and don't have the imposter syndrome that we see here. And this was the falling asleep on the job, right? The Hypnos card. So if you're bored or if you're not feeling what you're doing, you owe it to yourself and you owe it to others to find something else. And if someone else is sleeping on the job, this is your opportunity to try to move up, right? Because they're not putting their all in, the 100% in. The Emperor sometimes can get a little bit complacent, but there could also be imposter syndrome here because this is a young emperor, right? So, or prince that will be king one day. So this is basically knowing that you're being set up for success. A little bit of that egg metaphor that we talked about earlier. Don't push yourself before you're ready, and know that sometimes if it took longer to get there, you're going to be better because of it. That's why sometimes success is better when it comes mid or later in life, because you're not going to take it that seriously. You could live with or without it, and you know who you are. So everything's being set up. You're going to be okay. But it's a yes, but be accountable. Yes, but be appreciative. Yes, but don't fall asleep at the job. All right. Hopefully that helps. In relationships, also just making sure that everybody has a turn to sort of like take the wheel, because we can't have everybody being the boss all the time. So sometimes there's give and take. Okay. Hopefully that answers your questions today. Quick summary of your high level cards here in the soul. This is a time for you to make something happen. You have what it takes. What we saw here was that sometimes there's this capacity of holding back because you're afraid of what people might say or do. You want to create a safe space for yourself and others so that that's not part of the equation. Don't limit yourself, because all that we see here is expansion with the world. And yes, you can do it. You can do it on your own. There's a lot of independence here. And that's, again, it's very Aquarius. I know a lot of Aquarians in my life, and they all tend to be pretty independent, pretty headstrong, and your energy came through very strong today as well. So I feel like you've got some great stuff ahead of you, and I hope that this helped everyone that was present. I forgot to mention, I talked about my book a little bit. If you want to check it out, you can go to my website. I pinned a link at the top, and you can click on the Luminous ones. It's also on Amazon, on actually a lot of online bookstores. It is available overseas. It's only available in English, but if you want to check it out and you like things like Lord of the Rings or Dune, you can take a look. Here's some of the stores. I've added some additional ones since then. You can also check a local bookstore as well. And one last time, if you joined a little late, you can hit the thumbs up still. If you've already hit it, don't hit it again. Same thing with subscribe, only hit it once in a lifetime. But if you haven't subscribed and you enjoy what you see here, please do that. I got this sort of visual today. It just reminds me of being in a concert and seeing all the lights in the crowd. It's just nice to know who's out there, right? And that was one of the things. I know you're there even if I don't see you, but it's good to see you. So wave hello if you can. Thank you so much. I'm going to be back again tomorrow. Today's Thursday. I'll be back on Friday for Pisces. I have a collective reading coming up on Sunday. I'd love everyone to join me. We just did a it's hard to believe this month is already wrapping up, but we did a mid-month one a couple weeks ago. We'll be doing a collective again on the weekend. I have a special video with Apollo coming out next week because his adoption anniversary is coming up. I'm going to do it a little bit belated, but I'll be sharing it next week. And I may or may not do something else. So just keep in touch. And that's why it's good to subscribe. All right. Thanks, everyone. Much love and light. Thanks again to Maria for sticking around a little bit. We went over a little over here, but thank you so much. All right. Apollo's napping, or I would pull him up, but there he is. He wishes you the best as well. All right, everyone, have a great day. And I'll see those of you that want to join for Pisces tomorrow.